Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and I'll be your host. And today we're going to be talking with Bianca Ilca about Sibiu, Romania as a digital nomad destination. Bianca, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky, for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to talk about Sibiu, and I'm going to let you say it a lot more than me because I know I'm not pronouncing it very well. But
Oh, that's
it's
very accurate, actually. Sorry.
Oh, really? I often confuse it with the island in the Philippines, if it's or the city of the Philippines. So I want to pronounce it right. Can you say it for us once before we get into it?
Yes, it's Sibiu.
Sibiu. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love this town in Romania. I actually visited you in person back in September, and I myself was very impressed. So I really want to share this city with the viewers and the listeners out there.
Awesome. Yeah. I didn't even realize it's been so long since you
Yeah,
left, actually.
it's been a while. It's only been
Yeah.
about a month, but that month went by really quickly. So, all right.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Bianca, before we talk about Cebu, can you tell us about your background and how you started your digital nomad journey?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a software developer. I mostly do freelance work. I started nomading, I guess, during the pandemic in 2020. I met Johnny, my husband, and we weren't married back then. And then we decided to move to the US for a little bit. Travel to the US for a few months, not really move, as nomads do, I guess. So we went there, we stayed there for a few months, and then we started our journey in Romania, and then we went to the US, and then we kept on traveling. We didn't really want to go back to my hometown where we started. I had this idea in my mind that I want to travel more and I want to explore different cultures because I was a little bit, I felt like a little bit stuck in my own bubble in Cluj. So that's why we started traveling. And 3 years later, now we came back to Romania. It's not my hometown, it's close to my hometown, different city, one that I still love, second on my list after my hometown. So yeah, it's been 3 years. We've been traveling to quite a few countries in Europe, mostly, and the US.
Awesome. Well, what a journey, but you're back in your home country of Romania. And so it's cool that this city, Sibiu, is also, I'm sure you've been before, but it's new for you as a place to live. And
Yeah.
what attracted you? So, like, I guess we're going to highlight a number of aspects of this city, but let's talk about arriving first in Sibiu. How long can people stay in Romania without a visa?
Yeah, Romania is in the European Union, so if you're part of the European Union, then obviously there's no issue there. I was looking into the digital nomad visa that we apparently introduced in 2021. And there's a few requirements, but it doesn't look like it's so complicated to get. You just have to have a minimum income monthly of 3,700 euros or dollars, I forget, something around that lines, and to prove that you've been having that for 6 months. For some people, it might be harder. For some people, it might be easier, depending on if you have a job or not, but it's not like unreachable. And then you can get to stay up to 2 years with this kind of visa.
Okay, great. So I know that not like that's becoming more popular to have a digital nomad visa, but I feel like Romania is one of the earlier countries to get in on that. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, I am Romanian, so I didn't personally look into it so much. I read out up about it because we have a lot of people who come from abroad, and yeah, it depends on the personal situation, but it doesn't look like it's so complicated. Just read up on it, and yeah, there's a lot of information out there.
Nice. Okay, so you're in there. You don't need a visa if you're a tourist, if you're part, as you said, it's part of the European Union, but it is not part of the Schengen zone. Am I correct
Oh
in
yeah,
that?
yes, that's a good point. So in Romania, just like in Schengen, you can stay for 3 months out of every 6 months if you don't have this nomad visa. And that also means that if you want to travel, go to Schengen, you can use Romania as a way to reset your days, which some people do. I don't know how long this will go because we still are talking about joining Schengen eventually, but for now, it's like, well, you can use it just like you can use Bulgaria to drop in and out of Schengen.
feel like we should choose Romania today when we're doing this interview. Like if you're in Spain or Italy or France and you hit your 90
Yeah.
days, because all of that region is included in this 90 days. Once you hit 90 days, you can
Yes.
go straight over to Romania, do 90 days, go back to that other region in Western Europe. So it's a nice place to go if you're looking for like similar weather to some of these countries and also proximity, but the ability to stay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, okay. When someone is planning to spend time in Sibiu, is there anything that they should make sure that they bring with them? Like, are there things that are hard to find once you get into Romania?
Yeah, this is a hard one. I actually thought about it before this meeting, and I'm pretty sure that you can find anything you need here. It used to be the case that in Romania, we used to ask our friends going to the US, hey, can you buy this? Sorry, the ambulance. Can you buy this specific like light thing that you put around your neck for the party thing? But now you can find them here as well. There's like so much stuff that we've been importing that I don't think there's really something that you would miss coming here. I guess some specific things, like if you're Swiss and you like cheese, then you might want to bring your Swiss cheese. But I mean, we have cheese, but we just don't have good Swiss cheese, so it's hard to make raclette here. Um, but other than that, like very specific things that are specific to countries. Other than that, it's pretty easy to get anything, I would say.
Nice. Does Romania have an Apple store?
We have knockoff Apple stores. I don't even know. We have iStyle stores, which are like partners, but it's not really an Apple store. I don't know if we have one in Bucharest, actually. I have a MacBook. I took it to the iStyle store. It was fine. Like they fixed it and everything. But we don't have, as far as I know, we don't have an Apple store. I don't know.
We don't have
I'm
one
not.
here in Portugal either. So it's always something I think about because I have a Mac as well. Like, okay, just noted. But yes,
Yeah.
as you come in, just be aware of it. Okay, so when we come into Cebu, where should we look for accommodation if we want to stay longer term?
Yeah, sure. What I usually do is I stay in co-living spaces, and we have a co-living space here in Sibiu because we like co-living spaces. So you can stay in our co-living space. It's called Transylvanian Co-living. There's also a bunch of Airbnbs that might be able to offer long-term stays. So if you check Airbnb, you might be just put the filter. Now they have a filter for checking for a few months at a time, and you can find some that offer some discounts. It depends on the length of stay. Usually it's easier to find um, stuff for short term on Airbnb than it is if you go to a real estate agent. And that's what I usually do if I want to stay for a few months.
Yeah. Do you have a minimum? What is your minimum stay now at Transylvanian Co-living?
For now, it's still a few days. We opened recently, but it's going to be a week soon. Maybe over
Okay.
the winter, we're still going to keep it to a few days if people want to visit. But probably next year, we're going to introduce a minimum stay. That's a week.
Got it. I did see that they do have quite a few Airbnbs there as well if you're doing short
Yeah,
term or booking
exactly.
as usual.
Yeah, we don't really do one night. We mostly do 2 nights up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to know. So, do you have any advice for laptop friendly places in Cebu? Any cafes or co-working spaces that you recommend?
Yeah, I like two spaces that I sometimes work from. One of them is a coffee shop. It's called Nod. They also have some appetizers. It's mostly coffee shop and drinks, but you can also work there, and they have some sockets that you can plug your laptop in if it gets too low battery. And then I also like Hug the Plate. They also have a space for eating. I actually worked from there today because I was feeling a bit like I want to work from somewhere else. I went there to get a little bit of work done and also get lunch. And then obviously our co-working space and the co-living space, it's a great option. I work from there almost every day.
Oh, nice to know you also have a co-working
And there's
space there.
Starbucks.
And Starbucks. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of this, like what is the general Wi-Fi situation in Cebu and in Romania in general?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to actually find high-speed internet. And if you want to be very flexible, you can just get a SIM card and you top it up with €5 and then you have almost unlimited internet. It's like you have 5 GB, but then you have 100 extra bonus gigabytes. So that's a lot of internet that you get. And then, yeah, going to coffee shops, you can find decent, like 10 plus megabits, maybe 50 to 100. It depends on the place. At a co-living space, we have internet that's at least 150 megabits per second. And yeah, generally, Romania is one of the countries where you can get to, like, we have one of the best internet speeds from at least a few years ago when I was checking.
It's in the world, right?
Yeah, it's one of the
Wow.
best in the world.
So if you want to do some like high intensity things on your computer, you gotta come to Romania. No lags. Okay, that's great. And I should have asked this earlier, but I'm going to ask now. So if you're coming into Sibiu, is there an airport in Sibiu, or what's the best way to get there?
Yeah, there is an airport. We have an international airport that's connected directly to London, Vienna, and Munich. And then it also does domestic flights. You can also take the train from Bucharest. There's a highway that goes from Hungary all the way to Sibiu. And I usually like taking the train, so I recommend taking the train. Although it takes a bit longer, I prefer to take trains if it's domestic. If you fly internationally, I guess, yeah, you can fly. I'm going to go to Lisbon soon, so I'm going to fly to Munich and then Lisbon.
Nice. Yeah, I took the train as well, and I agree with you. I highly recommend it. It was going through the forests, and there I had a Wi-Fi connection actually when I was on the train, which was really nice. And I was in second class, but I was told first class is even a little bit better. So, and it was quite affordable. So
yeah. I actually haven't used the Wi-Fi on the train. I don't know was it good?
it was okay. I mean, of course we were moving through the forest. It like wasn't always the best, but it was available. And yeah, so I had a table, so I was able to do quite a bit more. Yeah. So I guess that's why we're in agreement about the train. I've heard the bus situation isn't so connected.
Not great. It's okay, but it's not great, and it takes a long time because it keeps stopping, and then I don't really like the buses.
Okay, now let's talk about a lot of people's favorite topic, food. What are some of your favorite places to eat in Sibiu? What can we expect in terms of food in Romania in general? And yeah, any great recommendations?
Yeah. So we have quite a few places that do traditional Romanian food. One of them, my favorite one, is I discovered it recently. It's in the Village Museum, which is actually, I just found out today, it's the biggest outdoor museum in Europe, which is quite a big thing. Yeah, we have the biggest outdoor museum in Europe. Is the Village Museum. It's called Astra, and there's you can go to this restaurant inside the museum and have pretty decently priced traditional Romanian food, which I really loved. We went there twice, and also visit the museum. And then there's this, we actually went there last time you were here, to Combinat Gastro Pub. It's kind of like I don't know if it's fusion. It's like more modern food, like ribs, but also with the Romanian influences like polenta and stuff that you would find in Romania. And then there's this, we don't have so many like ethnic food places, unfortunately. We have a very good Korean place, which has a limited menu. And then we have a restaurant where you can get some ramen. But the situation is more like we have a lot of places that do good Romanian food, not so much ethnic food. So there's a lot of space there. Like if you want to open a Mexican restaurant, please do.
I was going to ask because I love Mexican. If you were recommending one Romanian food for people to eat, I know you said polenta. What would you recommend as like the first introduction to Romanian food?
Well, I really like papanash, which is kind of like this cheese donuts. It's a dessert, but the donut itself is not that sweet. I really like them. It's a more light donut because it has fresh cheese in the dough, and then it's served with sour cream and jam. It's actually much better than
That sounds great.
And
Okay.
have you tried it actually
I
when you were
know,
here?
no, I missed it. I went to one of the
Yeah.
best brunch places of my life, which unfortunately I don't have the name at hand, but I will put it in the
Mhm.
description when I
Okay.
post this on YouTube. It was in the center, and there were several great brunch places, so I was very
Yeah.
impressed.
Um, and then we also have sarmale with polenta. That's traditional, like and
Yeah,
meat.
yeah. The sausages. What were the sausages called again?
Meat.
Meach. Those
Yeah.
were fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
All
unique.
right. But it sounds like from what you're saying, there's quite a variety in Sibiu.
Yeah,
There's
there's
like,
quite a variety. Yeah, yeah. As you said, brunch places I didn't even think about, but there's plenty of brunch places as well. I know of three of them on the top of my mind.
yeah, yeah, the
Especially,
center. There's a
just put
lot.
them.
There's a
Yeah.
lot. Okay, so if you are coming to Cebu, what are some typical like weekly events that you might enjoy, or how do you like to spend your personal time in the city? Any
Yeah.
nice day trips?
It depends on the season, of course, because in the summer there's a lot of festivals, and actually there's something almost every day, if not every day, then every few days. Like theater festival, music festival, art, everything. Like if you go to the center, I was talking to Johnny, we're like, okay, let's go to the main square, see what's up with it, because every time is different. But apart from that, there's a lot of community events that are being organized, like small associations. Next week, for example, we're going to have an event from the Community Foundation of Sibiu, it's translated, I guess, where they're doing some workshops, biking through the city. There's a lot of those that you can participate in. And we actually have a good public bike service that you can rent bikes from. And then there's brunch together and history tours and a lot of a lot of events that people can attend. Regularly, we do board games at our co-living space, and we do spikeball every week. So that's also on the list. I always participate in those because I'm here. We also do taco night where we cook together and then we eat tacos. Because as I said, there's not a lot of Mexican food options in Sibiu, and I love Mexican food, so we just make it ourselves and buy cilantro and everything. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, it's quite a bit of variety. You can go out in the evening. I don't really like clubbing, and Sibiu is not really known for that. It's more like chill, going out in nature. I like taking the bus to Poltinish, which is the ski resort nearby. And it takes like 30, 40 minutes for the bus to get there. And then you can hike and or stay in a restaurant and see the view of the mountain, just breathe fresh air. It's quite nice to do that. Also, mountain biking. You can take your bike on the bus and then it takes you all the way up and then you can bike down. I saw a lot of people do that, or just bike up and then down.
Wow, that's great. So I feel like you mentioned bikes a lot. Is there a great like bike network in Cebu to get around so you don't need a car?
Yeah, I always use the bikes and it's super cheap. It's like 20 cents per hour. And it doesn't even charge you for a full hour if you haven't used the full hour. So it's like super cheap. It's almost free. They're pretty well maintained and I use them every day pretty much. I have an app. I just scan the QR code for the bike. There's stations everywhere in the city and it's super convenient. And we have one right next to us. So like 2 minutes walk.
Yeah, it sounds like really a good setup. And what about the green space? So you mentioned this like the largest open air museum in Europe. Is there a
Yeah.
lot of green around, a lot of big parks, or what does it feel like when I walk around Sibiu itself? How would you describe the city to somebody who's never even been to Romania?
This is actually what made me fall in love with Sibiu. When I first came here in 2018, I think, just as a tourist. I stayed here for a week. I just booked an Airbnb and stayed here for a week just to experience the city. And what struck me was that if you go downtown, it's super quiet. Like in the times that you don't hear the cars, because it's kind of like I guess a lot of cities in Europe have that now, where you go into the center and they ban cars from the center, and then you can just walk around. There's a lot of cafes, and that vibe of there's people around doing stuff and not cars, which I really love. There's some trees there, but it's mostly walkable cobblestone streets. And then if you want to go to the park, there's a few parks smaller in the city. And then we have a really big park that starts at the border of the city center, and then it goes all the way to the Village Museum. I love biking through it or walking through it, and then it continues with the forest. So like you go all the way, it's like on foot as far as you want to the forest, and then later, if you keep going, then you go to Plotiniș, as I mentioned before. But that would probably take you a long time to walk.
Wow, that's amazing. To have a huge park like that on the edge of the city is just so important for the lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you kept walking, would you run into bears? I hear bears are a very famous part of Romania.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
how safe is this forest?
Well, I haven't met a bear, but it's not excluded that there will be bears in this region. Usually when there's a bear around, everybody gets a phone alert like, hey, there's a bear that's been spotted around. And I haven't gotten that in Sibiu, whereas when I go to Brasov, I always get these. So it depends. I guess maybe not in the city, but in the nearby areas close to Brasov. It depends. I haven't had this, and I haven't seen news of bears in this region, but I also haven't been watching news, but I haven't heard people talk about it. It doesn't look like they hang around right here next to the city, but they might be like, if you go to Plotiniș and go on a long hike, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so bears are a thing in Romania, some places, but Sibiu doesn't sound like it's as much of a problem, or an encounter will be as likely.
Yeah, it's not as likely as other regions, but there can be bears because they're traveling across Romania. So
Yeah, but also that means the forests are lush and huge. So I love that about Romania. Okay, so a couple of practical things if people are coming in and they're curious. Do you have ride sharing in Sibiu, like Uber or something similar?
Yeah, for sure. We have Bolt. I think we also have Uber. Have you used Uber here?
I opened it and saw that there were cars, but I used Bolt myself.
Okay, because I mostly use Bolt and I haven't checked for Uber. Okay, so there's Bolt and Uber. I usually use Bolt just because I got used to it and it works better in Romania for me. And there's also Lime scooters and Bolt scooters that you can get. And there's the food apps that you can order food from. So Glovo is the one I usually use. I think we also have takeaway, but I'm not sure. But Glovo, yeah, you can pretty much order anything. You can also order custom deliveries if you want something specific. One time last year, I was with my friends and it was like super late and we wanted something from the non-stop store, but we didn't want to walk. So we were super lazy. We went on Glovo and described what we wanted and where the store is. And then the guy went and bought it for us and then came back with it. It wasn't the store that was on the food delivery app. So they have that option, which is super convenient.
Great. How much would I pay per month for data? You mentioned before there's a lot of data and bonuses, but about how much is 1 month of data?
What I usually get is the €5 or €6 plan. So €5 giving you 5 gigs for my provider. It depends on the provider. I use Orange usually, and it's €5 for 5 gigabytes, and then some messages, email messages and minutes. Yeah. You can call internationally as well. But they always have the bonus, so it's like 50 or 100 gigabytes extra.
That is very affordable.
Yeah.
I also want to ask about the language barrier. So as we know, Romanian is the language in Romania, but do most people speak English? Am I going to go there and have some kind of just be completely confused and unable to communicate?
It's actually really easy to speak English here. People speak English since they're in, at least the newer generations, let's say below 40, 50, most people know English and they're able to communicate with foreigners, especially since Sibiu is a tourist town. We have a lot of tourists coming in the summer. They like going on Transfăgărășan and driving on this famous road that was on Top Gear, I think. Yeah, on Top Gear. So they come
famous
here
for bears. To go back to the bears.
There's a lot of bears on that road.
There's a lot of bears on that road. If you really listen to this and you started thinking you want to see a bear, there you go.
Yeah, go see a bear in Transfăgărășan. They beg for food, don't feed them. And yeah, so a lot of tourists come to Sibiu because it's kind of like close to that road. And we have a lot of foreigners, so a lot of people speak English here. But mostly in Romania, unless you go to a very remote village, you're gonna find that most people speak at least decent English. How was your experience actually?
Yeah,
Because
I
you're a
mean,
foreigner, so you had to speak English to people.
yes, good point. I was able to communicate with no problem, even on the train coming from Bucharest, where you're having a lot of locals moving from point A to point B. I was able to get by. And then also, like, having the language be a type where I could type it in and figure it out with Google
Right.
Translate. That makes it
Mhm.
easier as well. I actually really loved the Romanian language and found it really interesting, and the connections with Latin and Portuguese, which I hear and speak a lot. I could see, yeah, how we're all these Latin languages together, but it's something I hadn't encountered so much of. So you might find the same for those of you watching.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask, do you think it's easy for tourists like me or people coming in to connect with locals? Like, you've mentioned that you guys have a number of events. Is it easy to
Mhm.
like get out of that like bubble of a tourist or expat life?
I found a lot of events on Facebook. So what I do is I just go on the list of events on Facebook, and then I went to some workshops, networking events, expat events as well, because it's nice to connect with other people from other countries. And then we try to bring people here as well by organizing our own events that are open to the public. So our aim is to connect locals with the community of people staying here. We've had mixed success with that. Sometimes people join, more people join, sometimes less. I think it's probably going to grow in time as people find out about this place. But as to locals, I feel like the best way is either to go do something that you like go to the gym or go to a dance workshop or like cooking or whatever you like, and then connect with people in that way. Because that's probably the most genuine way to build connection, or find events on Facebook that sound appealing to you, which there are quite a few. Quite a few people are doing things in Sibiu, which I like.
Great. Well, I want to ask you now, why do you love Cebu? What is it now that you've spent some time there? What is it about Cebu that you love? And why should people go there instead of, for example, Bucharest or Brasov? These are the other places I'd heard about before I started looking at Romania.
Yeah. I stayed in Bucharest.
You're going to
I
say it right.
pronounced it
I'm going to be like,
Bucharest.
oh.
I stayed in Bucharest right before coming here, actually. For 4 months, I was doing a culinary school there, so I lived there for 4 months, and then I lived there before, so it's like a total of 1 year. And to me, Bucharest is really beautiful as well. It has its charm. But Sibiu is easy to live in. Especially for, I don't know, my what I usually like to do and how I usually spend my day. I like going for walks in the park. I like having a walkable area downtown where I feel safe even if it's late at night and there's still a lot of people. Like, it's not desolated. I don't want to be in a village where I cannot do things because I like the city life, but I like to be like at peace. So I feel like CBO gives me this peace of mine. I can find everything I want, really. I'm close to the nature. We actually have the highest peaks in Romania within short distance. Like, it's called Făgăraș chain, mountain chain. And you can get there with a car. But yeah, it's pretty easy to get to nature, which is my favorite. And the walkability aspect, and the community here is quite nice as well. But it's a little bit of I guess for me, that's not the best side because I'm used to communicating in a more direct way, and sometimes people tend to beat around the bush here. So I'm still getting used to that.
Okay. Compared to
Yeah.
Cluj, I guess, as well. I didn't
Yeah,
mention
compared to
Cluj.
we still beat around the bush in Cluj compared to Bucharest. People
Okay.
tend to be very direct in Bucharest, and here they're more like nice to you. They don't really say what they mean. Sometimes they have to kind of like read behind what they actually say, which is both good and bad because they're nice to you and they always smile and they're always like trying to make you feel comfortable. But then sometimes I actually want to, like, I don't know, get something out of it, and it's sometimes hard to get to be direct.
Gotcha, what they're really thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you were talking about peace, you like peace. I realized I didn't ask you, what is the safety level like in Sibiu? Is it okay to go out at night as a woman by yourself, walking around?
Yeah, so I feel totally safe. I've done that multiple times and haven't had any issues. It's like it feels like people take care of each other here in a way. Like I don't know. It feels like you're supported. Like people would probably, if something happens, they would probably come to help. Also, there's a lot of houses in the neighborhood that I live in, so there's not a lot of potential for crimes or like I don't know. It feels safe, definitely, compared to other cities I've been in, especially compared to Bucharest. Yeah, it's super safe, I'd say.
It's great. Well, I have to say, I really enjoyed my time at Transylvania Co-Living and also in Sibiu and learning about what was my first time to Romania. So I hope that people watching and listening will try it out, check it out, maybe next summer. Oh, last question. The weather. When is the best time to
Oh
go?
yeah,
And does it get super cold in the winter? Important question.
yeah. Well, it does get cold. It gets to about 0, maybe a little bit below. We're also a little bit higher altitude, so it can get a bit cold. But I like that because then we can go snowboarding. So
Oh, yes. The
winter
ski
sports.
resort.
Also, we have a Christmas fair. I actually like having a winter. I'm used to having 4 seasons, and I like having Christmas where it's cold rather than a Christmas where I have cacti around me, like in Arizona, which I've experienced, and it's nice, but I want to have snow. And I feel like there's stuff to do here as well, like a Christmas fair, like yeah. I guess the best time to visit if you like hiking is the summer, early autumn. But the off season is also nice, and we have a lot of film festivals and cultural events and history that you can visit. So it depends on what you like. Also, things tend to be a bit cheaper in the off season, like normal.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, thank you for letting us know that. I'm glad I remembered to ask you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bianca, for joining us and telling us about your city. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hope to see you soon.
Likewise.
Bye.